A word from our sponsors. Advertisers, are you ready to become a certified converged linear CTV and digital video media master? Introducing Nexon U, the online educational program dedicated to helping you better plan, buy, optimize, and measure your converged campaigns. Taught by industry leaders from both the buy and sell side, Nexon U experts tackle the challenging topics like data, identity, creative optimization, and more. So whether you're looking to fine-tune your existing skill set or dive deep into new concepts, Nexon U is the place to be. Enroll today at u.nexon.com. Again, that's u.nexxen.com. Welcome to the AdTech God Pod, your window into the world of advertising technology and the people behind it. I'm your host, AdTech God. Welcome to the AdTech God Pod, your go-to for conversations with people in the publisher sales leadership. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Kathy Argyriou, Head of Publisher Sales at Freewheel. Kathy has been with Freewheel for over 8.5 years and previously held roles at PubMatic, Velti Media, and more. Honestly, if you don't like Kathy, I'd have to wonder why, because I've only heard wonderful things about her. I'm excited to sit down with her today and talk about the future of CTV, the challenges and triumphs of publisher sales, and much, much more. Kathy, welcome to the AdTech God Pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining.
I'm literally blushing. Thank you so much for what a warm intro.
Blush away, Kathy. I'm so happy you're here. I've heard nothing but wonderful things. So I'm really happy that
starstruck too. Thank you.
You've worked in the space for a while. You've been at Freewheel for going on 8.5 years. You were at PubMatic for quite some time. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into the industry and what brought you to this point today?
Absolutely. Yes. As you mentioned, currently head of publisher sales at Freewheel, a Comcast company, fantastic company at the forefront of streaming. I specifically lead efforts currently for new business that specifically touch marketplace tools and anything that drives programmatic video monetization. But I will say that I've actually been in digital sales for close to 20 years. No, it's aging me. I will also say that before I do get into some previous roles and my career path, I would love to share, if you're open to it, a little bit more about my overall story. Yes,
I would love that, Kathy.
Amazing.
I'm all about that. So yes.
And I know I've spoken to a few folks about this publicly. So, maybe if anyone is listening, they're probably like, oh yeah, I know that. But I was born and raised to Greek immigrant parents in Queens, New York. And I actually spent a really good amount of my life between the United States and Greece. My parents spoke to my older sister and I in our native tongue, Greek. So English is technically my second language. I ended up going to college in the States. I have a master's degree from Fordham University here in New York. So go Rams. And I got my master's in business and media studies. And during college and grad school, I had a number of different internships ranging from working at a PR firm, working for a nonprofit women's rights group called the Global Peace Initiative for Women. And I even worked as a producer's assistant in a TV series called Local Flavor with the actress Joan Cusack for Discovery's Travel Channel. And what I ended up doing is moving back overseas. So technically, my first job that exposed me to the tech side of the industry was in Athens, where I worked for a company that owned their own proprietary CMS, which is a content management system that was used to build the largest portals, websites, and mobile applications in the country. So at the time, you better believe I had no idea what HTML code even was. But as you can imagine, I very quickly got acquainted to the world of coding and design and engineering. I stayed there for a number of years in my adult life. And my first job that exposed me to the advertising and media side of the business was back in New York, where I worked for a mobile video ad network. And it was the time that I had to crack literally hundreds of meetings with media agencies, wining and dining and entertaining agency directors, seeking RFPs, and just creating media plans that would land me IOs. Fast forward, I ended up meeting a number of incredible people along the way, was doing a ton of networking, and was very fortunate to establish relationships with folks that I consider mentors to this day. One of them I met literally in the bathroom while reapplying my lipstick at a Women in Wireless event, which is now known as She Runs It. And we instantly connected, convinced me to join her in building a mobile and video programmatic business at PubMatic. And the rest is history. I, at the time didn't even know what the acronym like RTB stood for. So it was very nerve wracking, but, constantly learning and expanded my knowledge every day. Spent a number of years at PubMatic, was really focused initially on onboarding mobile and video DSPs, demand side platforms and buyers, and eventually shifted to the pub side, focused on building relationships with folks that own the content. And here I am almost 9 years later at Freewheel Guest.
Kathy, you mentioned a couple of things. One is I know She Runs It. I don't know anyone there. So if you could make an intro, it'd be great. Because one of the big things I focus on for the podcast is I would love an introduction and just get stronger, relationships with them. And then you mentioned 3 words. It's funny because I write notes on these podcasts so that I know what to say. But you mentioned the words networking, relationships, mentor quite a few times. How important do you think those are in getting you to where you are today and being this successful where you are?
I think they are key. Absolutely. And I love that you picked up on it because it really is, I think, a common theme and something that I live by. I am a huge, huge fan and advocate for constant networking. And I think for many folks, it sounds intimidating and they think of networking as like a very specific type of interaction where networking could mean a lot of different things. It could mean staying in touch with an old colleague. It could mean staying in touch with a client. It could mean going to a conference and not knowing anybody. It could mean going to a happy hour. It has so many different forms. And I truly believe that focusing and ensuring that you are constantly networking. I like to spend at least an hour a week, to be completely honest, no matter how busy life gets. I think it's critical to try to make an effort to stay in touch with mentors, with acquaintances, with friends, with colleagues, clients, etc., to continue expanding those relationships.
The other day I posted something and I realized that probably in the last year, I've had conversations with at least 1,000 people. There are weeks where I spend 6-7 hours just talking to people, not on the podcast, just generally chatting with someone about anything and just building relationships. Because I realize that the knowledge and the information that we get every day changes so fast, but the people remain the same. Like a lot of the people that I'm talking to today are going to be future leaders, and a lot of the leaders that I talk to today will retire in 10 years. But it's so important to build up that network and those relationships with people just for everyone's benefit. Really, everybody can benefit from it.
Completely agree. And to your point, competitors will become colleagues. Colleagues will become clients. Sometimes clients will become competitors. And the cycle is just continues to go round and round. And I think to your point, it is so critical to always just maintain conversations and just continuing talking to folks across the board. Even if you don't think that they serve a quote unquote purpose to you, you never know when that quote unquote purpose will actually turn into something that is of value, in a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now.
What's that saying? I don't know it exactly, but it's you keep making deposits and don't expect the withdrawal. And so I keep making deposits.
Yes.
And then I haven't really done any withdrawals yet. But I know that one day, I don't know when it's going to be, or maybe never, that one day I'm going to go, oh man, I'm down on my luck. I need a job, or I really want to reach out to people. I really need help for this or for that. And hopefully, if I can get back 1% of the deposits I've made, then I'll be okay.
Absolutely.
And I think that's how I look at it.
Absolutely. I'd also like to say that when it comes to networking, I am of the opinion that a silent career setback for women in particular, that they face in their 30s and 40s is the unintentional drop off in networking. I feel that the 20s, broadly speaking, okay, like I let it be noted that I'm absolutely generalizing here. Please don't come at me. But broadly speaking, the 20s is a decade dedicated to proving that you could do the job. Then the 30s, by comparison, is a time to start building out your network. Your 30s and early 40s for women also often coincides with personal relationships and a new focus on family. And networking is usually the victim of that time crunch. So the issue is that the impact of that networking drop isn't often immediately apparent. I firmly believe that networking, to your point, is a long-term gain. It's those deposits that you're talking about. And the rewards of building a strong network are usually not realized immediately, but under a much longer time frame and unexpectedly. Like you said, if there's sudden layoffs, for instance, and you find yourself in market for a job and you're like, oh man, who's my circle of trust? What industry friends can I tap into? So you're absolutely right. I think that we need to keep an eye on this. And again, it's chipping away because you never know when a conversation or when a connection or something will come to fruition or will just be this light bulb moment or a connection point for that will ultimately pivot your career or the trajectory of a project or anything in the future.
So Kathy, I want to touch up on this because I think it's important and I don't think anyone's brought it up yet in your episode 60 something. How challenging is it for a woman in this space? I see and read a lot of posts. I'm not a female in the industry, so I haven't gone through any of those challenges. I do have females in my life, right, that I love and I care about. But how challenging is it for a woman in the space? And how is that family piece so different for women than it is for men?
Oof. If I could just say, to summarize it, it is hard. Whoever says it's not is lying. It is a constant battle. There is a constant roller coaster of emotions and feelings and guilt and triumph and excitement and then disappointment. And so I've heard a lot of people talk about, that balance. And I've done a lot of thinking about this work-life balance and this motherhood balance. And it really is not a balance. It really is not. In my opinion, the days that I feel like I'm on top of the world when it comes to my career, I may have done an amazing presentation, closed the biggest contract, had the most remarkable QBR, and then an amazing dinner with a client. And I got home at midnight. Guess what? I was a really sucky mother that day. My kids did not see me. I did not review their homework. I don't know what happened in school. And you better believe that when I ask them the next day, they're not open to sharing that feedback. You need to get your children, right at dismissal, right when they're feeling interested in opening up to share information. So there are days where I need to just come to terms with the fact that I'm going to have really stellar days at work. And then there are going to be days that I'm a stellar mother because I needed to care for my child that was maybe sick all night. And maybe I came to work not really, on top of my game. So I do believe that this balance is not really a reality. You need to come to terms with the fact that it's going to flip-flop. There's going to be days that you are really good at one or the other. You will have to sacrifice something at all times. And to the point earlier about networking, because it is so important to me, my family understands that this is something that drives me and it is my love language as well. So I think that I have created a life that allows me, and thankfully I have a really fantastic support system, and it takes a village, and that village understands how important it is for me to make sure that I am attending conferences, traveling, going to dinners, entertaining, etc. But again, it's really tough, especially when the kids are younger, but then, older kids, bigger problems. So it's definitely challenging having supportive leaders or an executive team at a company that understands those challenges and that constant roller coaster is so critical. Having someone that has that empathy to understand that sometimes it's about working smart and not really like just being the last one out of the office, looking as if you're working the hardest. It's about making sure that you are prioritizing your time accordingly for all of the demands of life.
I love that. I don't think anybody has said that. And I honestly, thank you for opening up and saying that, because I hear it a lot. I see the posts a lot and I don't know what it's like, but I know as, can I say, main breadwinner in my household? Like I'm the main breadwinner in this household. So like for me, there's senses of guilt when I leave, but I'm not the mother, right? Like my wife is there with the kids. So I'm never really concerned about it. I am finding that as my kids are growing up, I'm reducing my travel and finding ways to reduce my travel. And if I don't have to be there for 4 days, I'm not there for 4 days. And if I have to fly at 10 o'clock at night in order to be there in the morning to wake the kids up, I'll do it. But hearing your perspective as a woman, as a leader in the space, and those challenges, I think is really important. So thank you for sharing it.
Absolutely. It's an important message to make sure people remember, for sure.
And then you add to it too. You said that you were a Greek American. Most things start in Greece. Was AdTech invented in Greece? Just had to ask.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I mean, the proper Greek in me would say, of course it was. But truth be told, I gained such a tremendous amount of experience and was exposed to such innovation those years that I worked in Athens at this, small Greek company that had their own proprietary technology. And I remember when moving back to the US, I remember thinking, wow, we were pretty innovative and pretty ahead of the curve. And there was this component, I will say, of folks striving to be the best because they felt that they were this small country. And it felt like they needed to prove themselves more than just saying, oh yeah, I'm from the US. I work in, ad tech in New York. And so I will say that they tended to attract, really top talent, really passionate, driven individuals that were always looking to innovate and do some really cool things. So I will say that while I can't with certainty say that it was invented in Greece, I will say that some incredible things have come from the ad tech space in Athens for sure.
We're just going to say that Brian O'Kelly's real name is Brian O'Kellyopoulos. And we're just going to run with it.
I love it.
We're going to run with it. Kathy, you've shared some of your challenges and some of your rise to success, if we can say that, to reach where you're at today as a strong woman in the space. What are some trends that you're seeing in the market as it relates to Freewheel, or just general market trends that you see and hear about that you think is really positive?
I'd start off by saying that I think it's really important to recognize how connected television, CTV, in our new world of streaming specifically, has transformed the advertising ecosystem. Today, we can say that CTV is no longer the up-and-coming platform. It really is everywhere. For many consumers, CTV is the primary channel in which they're consuming content. So we're seeing a really seismic shift in how consumers interact with media, and CTV is at the forefront, blending the reach of traditional television with the precision of digital. And the addressability and data-driven insights available through CTV are totally reshaping how we think about audience engagement, measurement, and all this in real time. So I will say, prefacing everything with the, again, big seismic change in CTV, I truly believe that one of the most exciting trends that we will continue seeing a lot more of in 2025 and beyond is increased CTV programmatic transactions.
So you mentioned that, and you mentioned SMB, and in, November of last year, I had mentioned that SMB's spending across connected television would be one of the biggest trends in 2025. I know that recently you announced, or Greater Comcast Company announced, universal ads. Is that some of the focus that you're working on now, or are you in partnership with them since they're part of the family? How does that work for universal ads and Freewheel?
I love that you're calling out universal ads. And yes, what I will say is, to our earlier point about the shift from traditional advertisers from linear television to CTV, we are seeing that, and there are studies that have been published that I think there was the recent one that I saw was like 72% of advertisers indicated that they plan to increase programmatic spend, notably in CTV. And this is taking away from linear, and it's also opening up a new growth driver for smaller companies and advertisers. And so with CTV's reach and scale, we are, and again, universal ads is a perfect example of that. We're excited to see the trend of more local advertisers leaning into CTV strategies. And we do feel that this is absolutely a strong option for them to reach target audiences in a localized way. As you probably know, this has been vastly successful for social and search. And so we are basically taking a page out of that playbook, and we expect this to grow and expand into CTV. And so universal ads, to your point of its collaboration, it is a Comcast advertising initiative, and it is built on Freewheel technology. It will basically allow advertisers of all sizes to buy premium video directly from some of the most prestigious media companies today at scale. And the key is that it's going to be incredibly easy and simplistic, and it's going to mimic the way that they're buying from social media platforms today, which is something that they've been very used to and something that we have seen an explosion of. So absolutely.
Yeah, because television historically was not easy to buy. The creative assets were challenging. The distribution was really held by a few in the space. But now with CTV, and I hate to say it because it comes up every podcast, but now with AI capabilities and Gen AI capabilities, the barriers for entry for small and medium-sized businesses has been reduced. Like it is a lot easier to advertise and buy utilizing AI and Gen AI and all the pipes that you have connected to inventory. I would think that it's a matter of, uploading your creative and picking where you want to target and launching it.
You nailed it. Absolutely. Exactly. I mean, this would not be possible if it wasn't for the way that AI has been able to be, a force to help with transforming creation, execution, enhancements of, advertising campaigns, especially within, a video format. Absolutely. It goes hand in hand.
You've worked in the space for a long time. I think you said something like 20 years. I don't know how that's possible since you're 27.
Yeah, you're right. What am I talking about?
What keeps you in the industry overall? Like you worked at a company in Greece, you worked at PubMatic and now Freewheel. What really keeps you hooked to working in the ad tech or advertising space?
I have to say, it is constantly evolving. I learn something new every day. And by being part of the ad tech space, I do love media in general. I even, when I was in college, I knew that media studies was something I wanted to engage more in, but being able to combine the media side and the ad tech side makes me feel that I am in with all the trends, in with all of consumer behavior and how it's changing. And being a mother is also interesting to see how my habits, my consumer behaviors are so incredibly different from my children. And I feel that I'm going to constantly see how they are evolving, and I'm going to be learning from them and vice versa. So it keeps me engaged because every day is interesting. Every day is new. There's a lot of cool companies doing some really cool things. And at the end of the day, if you enjoy, in my case right now, content and consuming content, streaming, it feels like it's not really even a job. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you mentioned the consumer habits changing. I'm sure you remember this, but I remember waking up extra early on a Saturday or Sunday, or what I would think was extra early. But I had challenges waking up Monday through Friday, but Saturday I was up bright and early to watch cartoons. We don't have those challenges anymore. You're not going to miss your show, basically. Don't worry about it, because we'll just open up whatever streaming channel you want to watch whatever you want whenever you want it. It's quite incredible if you think about the change in one generation.
I'll be driving my kids to school, and I'll sometimes play like the actual radio instead of my Spotify or something. And there'll be a song on the radio, and my kids will be like, "Ma, put it on again. Like, wait, rewind it. Like, put it." So and I'm like, "Guys, I can't do that. It's on the radio." And they have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, "Huh? What do you mean? What, Ma? Just get your phone. Like, change it. What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh boy, if only you knew."
They have their own playlists now. They add their own playlists. Give me the phone. I'll just put the song I want. They have their dance playlist. They have their country playlist. I'm like, you have taken over my account.
Oh yeah.
But it's pretty incredible.
I remember watching the series Lost. Like, I remember I needed to leave class early in order for me to make it on time. And if I didn't leave like 5 minutes early, I would miss the recap. And if I didn't see the recap, it was a whole week. How in the world would I remember everything? And so it's just, my gosh, how times have changed. Now I just binge watch in one night, in my living room with snacks instead of me just, going 100 miles an hour on a bridge, like trying to get home so that I could see, the opening remarks of an episode of Lost, only to wait another week for the cliffhanger. So
it's changed. It's definitely instant gratification for consumption of content. The binging is real. I mean, I've gone through shows in such a short period of time. I'm like, this is ridiculous. now I have nothing to watch. What am I going to watch next? It's fun. And I think the industry overall is heading towards the right direction. And I'm really happy that you joined me here today, Kathy. Thank you. And thank you to Freewheel for having you as my guest.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. And I had such a great time speaking with you.
Awesome. Same here. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the AdTech God Pod, a podcast for the people, about the people. Stay connected with me for more insights, trends, and interviews in the realm of AdTech. Don't miss out on the latest updates, so follow me on X, Instagram, and connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't forget, ATG Slack community has insights, networking opportunities, and jobs. Keep the conversation going and stay at the forefront of AdTech innovation.